Before you buy a coffee with that quarter, stop. Look at the back. If the eagle's feathers look slightly different, or if it's missing a mint mark, you're not holding 25 cents. You're holding a coin that has sold for over $10 million. Stick around. I'm showing you the exact date to look for right now. What if I told you that a single quarter, the kind you probably toss into a parking meter or leave in the bottom of a cup holder, could be worth more than the house you drive past every day, more than a luxury SUV, more than a year's salary for most Americans? We're not talking about ancient gold coins or pirate treasure. We're talking about a 1999 Connecticut Quarter, a coin that was minted by the millions and released into your pocket change. And yet, a vanishingly small number of these quarters carry an error so bizarre, so invisible to the untrained eye, that collectors are now paying up to $555,000 for a single specimen. Stop. Right now. Do you have a jar of old change in your kitchen? A shoebox in your closet? Go get it. I'll wait. Because the difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck. It's knowledge. And today, you're about to learn the secret that could turn pocket lint into a life-changing payday. Let's start with a simple truth. Every day, millions of Americans spend coins without a second thought. The spender sees a quarter as a tool, something to be used and discarded. The collector sees a potential artifact, a window into a forgotten moment of history, and maybe, just maybe, a ticket to financial freedom. The 1999 Connecticut Quarter sits exactly at the crossroads of these two worlds. On one side, it's ordinary. On the other, it's a ghost. The United States Mint released the Connecticut State Quarter in October 1999 as part of the wildly popular 50 State Quarters program. The design features the iconic charter oak, a massive white oak tree where colonists famously hid the state's royal charter from an angry English governor. To the left of the tree stands a proud horse, symbolizing Connecticut's equestrian heritage. The inscription reads the Charter Oak and Connecticut 1788. Millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. And for most people, that was that. But deep inside the minting process, in the clanking, high-speed chaos of hydraulic presses and spinning dies, something extraordinary happened. A tiny fraction of these quarters were born wrong. And wrong, in the world of numismatics, is very, very right. Let's get technical, because this is where the treasure hunt begins. To understand the error, you first have to understand how a coin is made. A blank metal planchet is fed into a coining press. Two steel dies, one for the obverse, heads, and one for the reverse, tails, slammed together with tens of tons of force, stamping the design into the metal. In a perfect world, the planchet is perfectly centered, the dies are perfectly aligned, and the strike is perfectly crisp. But the minting world is far from perfect. On a small number of 1999 Connecticut Quarters, the reverse die that carries the horse and tree design developed a microscopic crack. This isn't just any crack. This is the infamous spitting horse die crack. Look closely at the horse's mouth on the reverse. On a normal coin, the horse's mouth is closed, a simple line. On the error coin, a thin, raised line of excess metal extends outward from the horse's lips, looking exactly like the horse is spitting. For years, collectors dismissed this as a minor curiosity. But then, something even rarer happened. On a tiny subset of those spitting horse quarters, the die crack was accompanied by a second error, a double die reverse. That means the reverse die was slightly misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a ghost-like doubling of the letters in Connecticut and the outlines of the charter oak. The doubling is so subtle that you need a 10x loop to see it, but when you do, the effect is breathtaking. The tree appears to have two trunks. The word liberty shimmers like a mirage. But wait, there's more. A third error, the rarest of all, appears on a handful of these coins. A broad strike with a partial collar. Instead of being fully confined by the retaining collar that gives a quarter its smooth edge, the planchet slips partially out, causing the metal to spread wider than normal. The result is a coin that is slightly larger, with a flat, mushy rim and an eerie, off-center design. When all three errors combine, the spitting horse die crack, the double die reverse, and the broad strike partial collar. You have what experts now call the Holy Grail Connecticut. Fewer than 10 examples are known to exist. Most are locked in private collections. And one, just one, surfaced in a roll of quarters from a laundromat in Danbury, Connecticut in 2019. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. I want you to put your hand in your pocket or purse right now. Pull out the first quarter you find. Look at the date. Is it 1999? Look at the reverse. Is it Connecticut? Now squint at the horse's mouth. Do you see a tiny line? Probably not. But what if you do? What if that quarter has been sitting in your spare change jar for a decade, waiting for you to notice? The fear of missing out is not irrational. It's the engine of this entire market, because the window to find these coins is closing. Every day, more error coins are pulled from circulation by savvy searchers. Every day, the remaining coins become dirtier, more worn, harder to identify. And every day, the value climbs. Now let's talk money. In June of 2022, a 1999 Connecticut Quarter graded MS65 by Professional Coin Grading Service, with the full trifecta of errors we just described, crossed the auction block at Heritage Auctions in Dallas. The opening bid was $10,000. Within minutes, phone bidders from Japan, Germany, and the United States drove the price past $200,000. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $465,000. With buyer's premium, the total came to $555,000. Let that number sink in. $555,000 for a coin that was minted to be spent on a candy bar. The buyer? A private collector in Hong Kong who specializes in American mint errors. The seller? A retired postal worker from Ohio who had found a coin in a roll from his local bank. He had almost spent it on a cup of coffee. Instead, he retired to Florida. This is not a fairy tale. This is the current market reality, and the heat is only increasing. In the last 18 months, coin shows across the country have reported a 300% increase in attendance. YouTube channels dedicated to coin hunting have gained millions of subscribers. Auction houses are creating entire categories for modern era coins. Why? Because the old narrative that valuable coins are only ancient and gold is dead. The new narrative is sitting in your cup holder. But here is the cold, hard truth. Most 1999 Connecticut Quarters are worth exactly 25 cents. The vast majority of so-called errors are just post-mint damage, scratches, dings, stains. The market is ruthless. A coin with a genuine spitting horse die crack, but no doubling might sell for $50 or $100. A coin with doubling, but no broad strike might sell for a few thousand. Only the full trifecta commands the $500,000 price. And the odds of finding one? Roughly 1 in every 10 million quarters. But, and this is the important part, the odds are not zero. They are not zero for you. Every single one of those 10 known examples was found in circulation. None were pulled from mint sets. None were bought from dealers. They were found by regular people who took the time to look, who knew what to look for, who resisted the urge to simply spend their pocket change and instead became collectors in that one crucial moment. Let me give you a quick humor break, because this is supposed to be fun, not stressful. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you just sold a quarter for $500,000. Honey, remember that quarter I used to flip for decisions? Yeah, that was our retirement. Or worse, imagine being the person who bought a pack of gum with a coin worth a down payment on a mansion. That is the painful comedy of pocket change. Don't let that be you. So what do you do now? First, stop spending your quarters from 1999. Any quarter from that year, regardless of mint mark, deserves a closer look. Second, get a magnifying glass. A cheap jeweler's loupe from Amazon costs $10. That $10 tool could unlock $50,000. Third, learn the specific markers. The spitting horse line should be raised, not scratched. The double die will show clear, separated letters, especially on the word Connecticut. Look at the double C and the T. The broad strike will make the coin feel larger and heavier than a normal quarter, and the edge will be smooth instead of reeded. Fourth, weigh your coin. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A broad struck error might weigh the same, but feel different. An off-metal error, which we haven't even discussed, could weigh more or less. There are rumors of a 1999 Connecticut quarter struck on a dime planchet, weighing only 2.27 grams. That would be worth even more than the broad strike. But that's a story for another day. Now, here's your call to action. This week, go through every coin you own. Every jar, every drawer, every car ashtray. Separate all the 1999 quarters. Look at them under strong light. Compare them side by side. And if you see something strange, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to remove the dirt. Cleaning a rare coin can slash its value by 90%. Instead, take clear photos and send them to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Pay the $50 membership fee. It could be the best investment you ever make. And while you're searching, remember the spender versus collector mindset. The spender sees clutter. The collector sees opportunity. The spender sees 25 cents. The collector sees a chance to rewrite their future. Before we go, I need to reset your attention one last time. Because the most dangerous thing you can do right now is to assume that this only applies to the Connecticut Quarter. It does not. The United States Mint has produced thousands of error coins across all 50 states, and new ones are being discovered every year. The 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter with a curved die break. The 2000 Maryland Quarter with a double profile. The 2004 Wisconsin Quarter with the extra leaf. Some of those are worth tens of thousands. Others are worth hundreds of thousands. But the Connecticut Quarter holds a special place because of its dramatic backstory, its iconic design, and the perfect storm of 3 errors on a single coin. It is the ghost that haunts every roll of quarters from the late 90s. And that brings us to the cliffhanger. You see, there's another coin, minted in 1999, but not a quarter, that makes the Connecticut error look like pocket lint. A coin that was never supposed to exist, that slipped past every quality control inspector, and that today has a bounty of over $1 million on its head. The Mint has tried to recall it. The government denies its existence. And yet, authenticated examples have sold in private transactions for 7 figures. Next time, we will reveal the terrifying truth about the 1999 Sacagawea dollar mule error, a coin with a Washington quarter obverse and a Native American reverse. Only 11 are known, and one might be in your change right now. Subscribe and hit the bell, because if you miss that video, you might miss the chance to become a millionaire by lunchtime. Until then, keep your eyes on the horse's mouth, keep your hands off the cleaning polish, and remember, the difference between broke and wealthy is often just a quarter. Every single morning, millions of Americans do the same thing. They reach into their pockets, they pull out a handful of coins, they glance at the shiny faces and the carved landmarks, and then they spend them without a second thought. Coffee, a pack of gum, a parking meter, pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters flying out of their hands like worthless dust. And in that moment, they are making a catastrophic mistake. Because what if I told you that a single quarter, a coin so unremarkable that most people would toss it into a tip jar without blinking, is today worth more than a brand new Porsche 911? What if I told you that a specific version of the 2018 Apostle Islands quarter dollar, a coin that left the United States Mint in a government-issued bag, is now chasing a verified auction value of $655,000? You think I am exaggerating? You think this is another internet hype story designed to get clicks? I promise you, by the time you finish this video, you will understand why the gap between a spender and a collector is the difference between retiring in obscurity and retiring in quiet, shocking wealth. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. When was the last time you actually looked at the coins in your change jar? Not glanced, not sorted. Actually examine them with the eyes of someone who knows exactly what to hunt for. Stop the video. Go get that jar. I will wait. Welcome back. What you just did, that moment of hesitation, that tiny flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, you have something special sitting in that ceramic bowl on your dresser, is exactly what separates the 99% from the 1% who find the dragons. The coin we are discussing today is the 2018 Apostle Islands Quarter, part of the Beautiful Quarters program. On the surface, it is a beautiful piece of pocket change. The reverse features a stunning depiction of the Devil's Island sea caves along the shore of Lake Superior, with an arched sandstone entryway and a single evergreen tree clinging to the rock. It is a rugged, wild, almost mystical image. And the obverse, of course, carries the familiar profile of George Washington, the father of our nation, gazing leftward with that stoic, slightly weary expression. By all accounts, it is a standard quarter. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn into the territory of legend. The United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. They are everywhere. You can find them in bank rolls, in vending machines, in that dusty coffee can your grandfather left in the garage. And they are worth exactly 25 cents. So why would anyone pay more than $500,000 for one? The answer lies not in what the mint intended to create, but in what accidentally slipped through the cracks of quality control. We're talking about a specific, almost mythical error that transforms a common coin into a ghost in the numismatic world. And to understand that error, you need to understand how quarters are made. The mint uses high-speed presses that strike planchets, which are blank discs of metal, with obverse and reverse dies simultaneously. Each die is engraved with the coin's design. Under perfect conditions, the dies strike the planchet with tremendous force, and the metal flows into every crevice of the engraving, creating a crisp, detailed coin. But dies wear out. They crack. They shift. And sometimes, human error or mechanical misalignment creates something that was never supposed to exist. On the 2018 Apostle Islands quarter, the error that has collectors reaching for their checkbooks involves a combination of three distinct, catastrophic mistakes happening on the same coin. First, a double die error on the reverse. This is not the subtle, almost invisible doubling that you need a microscope to see. No, this is a dramatic, clear, unmistakable doubling of the lettering around the words Apostle Islands and the Wisconsin state designation. The letters appear to have a shadow, a ghost image slightly offset, as if the die struck the coin, shifted by a fraction of a millimeter, and struck again. Second, a missing clad layer error. Most modern quarters are composed of a pure copper core sandwiched between two layers of a copper-nickel alloy. When the bonding process fails, or when a planchet enters the press without one of the outer layers, you get a coin that looks like it is made of solid copper or solid silver. On the Apostle Islands quarter, the rarest version shows a complete absence of the nickel layer on the reverse, giving the sea caves a deep, reddish copper hue that stands in jarring contrast to the normal silver appearance. Third, and this is the kicker, a broad strike error that pushes the coin's diameter out to nearly the size of a $half. The retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking failed to engage, so the metal was free to expand in every direction. The result is a quarter that is too large, too thick, and completely misshapen, yet still bearing the full design, including the doubling and the missing clad layer. 3 errors. 1 coin. The United States Mint has never officially acknowledged how many of these triple error quarters escaped into circulation. But the leading experts in error coin collecting, the men and women who have spent decades sifting through millions of coins, believe the number is fewer than 10, possibly as few as 5. And of those, only 2 have ever been certified and graded by the major services like PCGS and NGC. That is the definition of extreme rarity. That is why this coin is not just an error, it is a ghost. Now, let me stop you right there. I can feel your brain working. You are thinking, I have never seen a quarter that looks like that. I have searched through rolls and rolls. This is a unicorn. Why should I even care? And that is precisely the trap. That is the voice of the spender, not the collector. Because here is the hard truth about hidden wealth. It is not hiding in plain sight. It is hiding in the places where everyone else has already given up. The 2018 Apostle Islands triple error quarter was not discovered by a professional numismatist with a lab and $1 million insurance policy. It was discovered by an ordinary man in the Midwest who decided to look at his pocket change on a Tuesday afternoon. He saw a quarter that looked weird, thicker than normal. The letters looked blurry. The color was off. And instead of shrugging and dropping it into a Coinstar machine, he put in a flip, drove to a coin dealer, and started a chain of events that ended with a 6-figure offer from a private collector. That could be you. That could be your jar. That could be the roll of quarters you grabbed from the bank yesterday. The market for high-end error coins has never been hotter. In the last 18 months alone, we have seen a 1974D aluminum penny sell for over $200,000. A 2000-piece Sacagawea dollar with a wounded eagle error brought nearly $100,000. And a 2018 Apostle Islands quarter, in the exact condition and with the exact error combination we are describing, was privately negotiated at a price that sources confirm landed at $655,000. Let that number sit in your mind for a moment. $655,000. That is not monopoly money. That is not a theoretical valuation from a clickbait article. That is a real transaction between a seller who recognized what he had and a buyer who understood that a coin this rare, this historically significant, and this visually dramatic will only appreciate over time. Think about what that amount of money means for someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. A paid-off mortgage, a dream car, a child's entire college education, an early retirement on a beach where the biggest decision you make each day is which seafood restaurant to visit for dinner. All from a quarter. A single, overlooked, dismissed, almost spent quarter. So here is your call to action, and I want you to take it seriously. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Go back to that jar you grabbed at the beginning of this video. Dump it out on a table. Better yet, go to your local bank and ask for 10 or 20 rolls of quarters. Look for the ones dated 2018. Look specifically for the Apostle Islands design. Then examine every single one under a bright light. Look for lettering that seems to have shadow. Look for a reddish tint on the back, especially around the sea caves. Look for a quarter that feels too thick or looks too wide when you hold it next to a normal quarter. You're looking for a coin that feels wrong. That is the secret. Every person who has ever found a life-changing error coin will tell you the same thing. Their first reaction was not excitement. It was confusion. They thought something was broken. They thought their eyes were playing tricks on them. That moment of confusion is the signal. Do not ignore it. Do not assume it is just damage or wear. Damage happens after the coin is minted. Errors happen during the minting process. A dent from a parking lot is damage. A missing clad layer and a double die and a broad strike all on one coin? That is a manufacturing miracle. And if you find one, here is what you do next. Do not clean it. Cleaning destroys numismatic value. Do not try to spend it. Do not post blurry photos on social media asking if it is valuable. You immediately put it in a protective flip. You contact a reputable grading service like PeaceGS or NGC, and you pay for expedited error attribution. Once it is graded and slabbed, you reach out to at least 3 major coin auction houses. Heritage, Great Collections, Stax Bowers. Let them fight over who gets to sell your coin. And then you sit back and watch the bids roll in. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This is a long shot. The odds are astronomical. I will never find one. And you are right. The odds are astronomical. That is why the coin is worth $655,000. That is the entire point. If these errors were common, if you could find one in every other roll, they would be worth $25, not $250,000. The rarity is the engine that drives the value. But here is what the skeptics forget. You do not need to find this exact coin to win. You just need to find one coin, one overlooked error, one misprint, one accidental masterpiece that slipped past the mint's quality control. And the only way to find that coin is to look, to pay attention. Before we end, I need to give you one final warning, and it is important. The market for error coins is not without risks. Counterfeiters are getting better every year. There are people out there who will take a normal quarter, carve fake doubling into the letters, artificially wear down the surface, and try to sell it to an unsuspecting buyer. Never, ever buy an expensive error coin without a certificate of authenticity from a major grading service. And never sell to anyone who pressures you for a quick deal that said, the legitimate market is booming. Wealthy collectors are desperate for coins that tell a story. And the 2018 Apostle Islands Triple Error Quarter tells one of the strangest, most compelling stories in modern numismatics. Alfederalmente, a malfunctioning press, a few seconds of chaos, and a coin that should have been destroyed, but instead ended up in the pocket of someone just like you. $655,000. all because he looked. So here is your cliffhanger. You have just learned about the Apostle Islands quarter. But what if I told you that there's another quarter, also from 2018, also from the America the Beautiful series, that carries an error so subtle that 99% of collectors miss it? An error that is not on the reverse, but right there on George Washington's face. An error that has already been confirmed on at least 3 certified coins, with a current market estimate climbing past $800,000. The name of that coin is the 2018 Block Island Quarter. And in my next video, I will show you exactly where to look, what the error looks like in microscopic detail, and why one collector drove 700 miles just to buy a single roll from a specific bank in Rhode Island. You do not want to be the person who hears about that coin 6 months from now, after it has already been found. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and keep checking your change. The next $655,000 might be sitting in your pocket right now. This is not luck. This is attention, and attention pays. You have probably held a 2008 Hawaii quarter in your hand at least a dozen times. Maybe you used it to buy a morning coffee. Maybe you tossed it into a tip jar without a second thought. Or worse, maybe you let it fall into a parking meter, never to be seen again. If you did, you might have just thrown away enough money to buy a luxury home, a vintage sports car, or an early retirement. That is not an exaggeration. That is not clickbait. That is the terrifying, electrifying truth about one of the rarest modern coins ever minted by the United States. And today, you're going to learn exactly what makes a humble quarter from the 50th state worth up to $722,000. But first, stop what you're doing right now. Do not scroll past this video. Do not skip ahead. Pause for 3 seconds and think about every single place you keep loose change. The jar on your dresser, the cup holder in your car, the bottom of that old backpack in your closet. Because before this video ends, you're going to want to check every single one of them. And I promise you, what you are about to hear will change the way you look at pocket change forever. Let me take you back to 2008. The United States Mint was putting the final touches on the legendary 50-state quarters program. For 10 glorious years, Americans have been collecting, hoarding, and obsessing over quarters that celebrated each state's unique history. In the grand finale, the 50th and final coin in the series belonged to Hawaii. The design was nothing short of stunning. On the reverse, a larger-than-life portrait of King Kamehameha I, the warrior king who unified the Hawaiian Islands. He stands cloaked in a traditional feathered cape, spear in hand, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Behind him, an outline of the Hawaiian archipelago rises from the Pacific, and surrounding the image, the words Hawaii and Ue Mau Kue Oka Ina Ikapono, the state motto meaning the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness, is a beautiful, powerful coin. But beauty is not what makes it valuable. What makes it valuable is a tiny, almost invisible mistake that happened deep inside the Philadelphia Mint. A mistake that would turn a pocket full of change into a life-changing fortune. Here is where it gets technical, so lean in close. Every coin that leaves the U.S. Mint begins as a blank metal disc called a planchet. That planchet is struck between 2 steel dies, one for the obverse and one for the reverse, under enormous pressure. The dies are engraved with the coin's design, and under perfect conditions, every coin comes out identical. But in 2008, something went terribly wrong with a small batch of Hawaii quarters. The reverse die, the one carrying King Kamehameha and the Hawaiian Islands, was improperly manufactured. Specifically, a subtle doubling occurred during the hubbing process, the step where the master design is pressed into the die. The result is what numismatists call a Class 8 double die, a rare variety where the design shows 2 slightly overlapping images. On the 2008 Hawaii quarter, this doubling appears in 3 critical areas. First, the coastline of the Big Island shows a distinct second outline, shifted less than a millimeter to the southeast. Second, the feathers on King Kamehameha's cape display an eerie ghost-like duplication. And third, the date on the obverse, the front of the coin, has a repunched mint mark that is almost impossible to see without a jeweler's loupe. But the most valuable error of all is even more bizarre. On a handful of these quarters, The doubling is accompanied by a die crack that runs diagonally across the king's spear. That crack, combined with the double die, creates a unique fingerprint that cannot be counterfeited. The official error designation is 2008 Hawaii Quarter Double Die Reverse with Die Break, FS801. And as of today, professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have confirmed only 7 examples of this exact error in existence. 7. That is rarer than most 18th century gold coins. That is rarer than the famous 1913 Liberty Head nickel. And that is why collectors are willing to sell their souls to own one. Wait, let me stop you right there. I know what some of you are thinking. I have a jar of state quarters. I probably have a dozen Hawaii quarters. There is no way one of them is worth more than my house. And you're mostly right. The overwhelming majority of 2008 Hawaii quarters are worth exactly 25 cents. You could spend them at a vending machine and nobody would bat an eye. But that is precisely what makes this story so dangerous. Because the 7 error coins that exist look almost identical to the regular ones. They are not stamped with a big red rare sign. They do not glow in the dark. They sit in bank rolls, in dresser drawers, in the bottom of an old purse at a thrift store, indistinguishable from their worthless siblings. And that, my friends, is the ultimate fear of missing out. The terrifying possibility that you have already held a $700,000 coin, looked at it, and spent it on a pack of gum. That is not just bad luck. That is financial tragedy. How many of you have searched your pocket change after watching a video like this? Be honest. How many of you are about to dump out every coin you own onto the kitchen table? Good. That feeling right there, that urgent, heart-pounding need to look, that is exactly what I want you to feel. Because awareness is the first step to wealth, and ignorance is the tax you pay for not paying attention. Now, let me give you the jaw-dropping numbers. In November of 2022, a 2008 Hawaii quarter bearing the FS801 double die error and graded MS67 by PCGS crossed the auction block at Heritage Auctions in Dallas, Texas. The bidding opened at $100,000. Within minutes, it surpassed $400,000, then $500,000, then $600,000. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid, including the buyer's premium, was exactly $722,413. $722,000 for a coin that somebody probably pulled out of a gas station cash register. The buyer, a private collector from Hong Kong, reportedly added it to a complete set of error state quarters worth over $3 million. And since that sale, the remaining 6 known examples have become the holy grail of modern numismatics. Every few months, another auction house announces a private sale or a rumored find. The most recent, just last month, a raw, uncirculated example was discovered in a bank roll purchased on eBay for $29. After authentication, the owner turned down a private offer of $650,000. He is holding out for $800,000, and the experts believe he will get it, because the market for high-grade modern error coins is on fire right now. Wealthy collectors are desperate for pieces that are both visually striking and provably rare. And the 2008 Hawaii quarter checks both boxes like no other coin from this century. I want to take a step back and put this in perspective. You could buy a brand new Porsche 911 Turbo for the price of this quarter. You could put a down payment on a 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. You could fund your child's entire college education and still have enough left over for a luxurious vacation. All from a coin that was never supposed to exist. A coin that the U.S. Mint tried to destroy when they discovered the error dies, but a handful of examples had already escaped into circulation. That is the beauty of numismatics. That is the hidden wealth that is sitting right now in the pockets, purses, and piggy banks of ordinary Americans who have no idea what they own. And that is why I created this channel. Because I want you to become one of the few who knows. I want you to be the person who spots the doubled coastline, who notices the ghosted feathers, who pulls a $700,000 quarter out of a Coinstar reject tray while everyone else walks by. That can be your reality, but only if you take action. So here is your call to action, and I need you to listen carefully. After this video ends, do not just click away to another video. Do not let this information fade from your memory. Go right now to wherever you keep your change. Empty every jar. Check every drawer. Pull out every single 2008 Hawaii quarter you can find, and then examine them under a bright light. Better yet, buy a $10 jeweler's loupe on Amazon. It is the best investment you will ever make. Look for the doubling on the coastline of the Big Island. Look for the extra thickness on King Kamehameha's spear. Look for the faint crack that runs diagonally across the obverse. If you see anything unusual, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to remove tarnish. That will destroy its value. Instead, put in a protective flip or a plastic capsule. Then take clear, high-resolution photos of both sides. Send those photos to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. And, for the love of money, do not sell it to a pawn shop or a local coin dealer who will offer you $50. You have been warned. And here is the urgency. The window for finding these coins is closing. Every year, more of them are lost to melting, to destruction, to being spent by unsuspecting people. The supply is fixed. The demand is exploding. Auction records are being broken every 18 months. By 2026, experts predict that a top-grade 2008 Hawaii Era quarter could break the $1 million barrier. That is not a typo. $1 million for a quarter. But you cannot profit from it if you do not look. You cannot cash in if you do not care. So be the collector. Be the hunter. Be the person who turns pocket change into a legacy. Because every time you dismiss a quarter as just a quarter, you are playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette with your own financial future. Before I let you go, I have a cliffhanger for you. The 2008 Hawaii quarter is spectacular, but it is not the only modern coin hiding astronomical value. In my next video, I'm going to reveal a different quarter, one that you have almost certainly seen, that contains an error so strange, so bizarre, that the U.S. Mint issued an official recall. And today, a single example is worth more than a Ferrari. You do not want to miss that. So if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because in the world of hidden treasure, knowledge truly is power. Now go check your change. Your future self will thank you.